In the latest episode of his self-named podcast, Ringer founder Bill Simmons revealed his belief that Joe Mazzulla is suppressing the team's best weapon. One of the things that stood out about the New Orleans game is that they went through Porzingis, said Simmons. The team was like, you know what? We should use the 7 feet 3 inches guy they don't have a matchup for. When they play through Porzingis, the other team panics. I don't know if they've figured that out yet or are saving it for the playoffs. Is Boston's ignoring of Porzingis the recipe for playoff disaster? Tatum and Brown dribbling 25 feet from the basket with everyone standing around is easy to stop. Other teams are rooting for you to do that. Porzingis is the crunch time weapon on this team they don't use. Boston Celtics must turn to Kristaps Porzingis late in games. What Simmons preached is a sentiment I've shared for some time. The Boston Celtics are wildly predictable down the stretch in tight games. Any semblance of ball movement or creativity goes out the window and is reduced to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown chucking heavily contested shots. Will Celtics' predictability cost them the championship? The current strategy confines Kristaps Porzingis to the perimeter, turning him into a supercharged Rashard Lewis. While his outside shot is valuable, relying solely on him as a deep threat underutilizes his abilities. Putting him at the free throw line or down in the low block causes chaos and is the most effective play in the Celtics' arsenal. If teams send a double, the other 4 starters can all shoot or slash at an elite level, likely generating a quality shot or a trip to the charity stripe. If they dare to leave Porzingis on an island, he can post up or take his patented free throw line jumper, one of the surest bets in the league. It puts fear in opponents and forces a level of pressure unmatched by the Jays playing hero ball. Can Mazzulla's strategy sink Boston's title hopes? The notion that Joe Mazzulla will unleash all these ways to iron out late-game woes come playoff time baffles me. Reps are important, and it's hard to believe all these concerns will fix themselves at the most vulnerable point of the season. With this group of guys, any set involving ball movement should be impossible to stop, whether on tape or not. The Celtics will likely have a few close games before the season ends, which should serve as learning opportunities on how to close teams out properly. Like so many of their problems, it's an easy fix. I'm hesitant to believe they magically figure it all out, but there's a massive, unicorn-sized billboard to remind them of a way to ease some of their troubles. Is Brad Stevens' overlooked move the key to Celtics' success? Brad Stevens has been at the top of his game ever since he took over from Danny Ainge as president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics. From bringing in Derek White to trading veteran Marcus Smart for Kristaps Porzingis to acquiring Drew Holiday, Stevens hasn't missed a beat. Bob Ryan, a legendary sports writer for the Boston Globe, highlighted Stevens' front office work during his 2+ years on the job. He also pointed out a key Stevens move that rarely gets talked about. Bob Ryan praises Brad Stevens for bringing back Al Horford. Stevens assumed Ainge's role in June 2021 after Ainge resigned as the team's president of basketball operations. Ainge, known as Trader Danny, was not shy about making several big moves, including those that brought Kevin Garnett to the Celtics and then sent him out of Boston years later. Stevens had been the Celtics head coach for 8 years, compiling a 354-282 record. When Ainge left, Stevens transitioned into the front office and has been flawless ever since. Bringing in White, a relatively unknown guard from the San Antonio Spurs, for Josh Richardson, Romeo Langford, and a first-round pick might be his best move yet. He also turned Smart, Malcolm Brogdon, and Robert Williams, Danilo Gallinari, Mike Muscala, and picks into Porzingis and Holiday, giving Boston arguably the best starting 5 in the game. While Stevens has made those big moves, Ryan pointed out another key Stevens move that went under the radar. Will Al Horford's return lead the Boston Celtics to glory? One that was very good that doesn't get discussed a lot, I don't want to say no one ever mentions it, is bringing Al Horford back, Ryan said on the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast. What a breath of fresh air he's been. He's been terrific. He's everything you asked for. He's absolutely giving you everything he's got, and he's being utilized perfectly well. Horford fills his role with the Celtics to perfection. Horford is in his second stint with the Celtics after initially leaving for the Philadelphia 76ers via free agency. After a rough tenure in Philadelphia that saw him play in just 67 games, Horford was traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder in December 2020. There, he played just 28 games before making way for a younger core. With Horford out of the Thunder's plans, they sent him back to Boston. Stevens sent oft-injured point guard Kemba Walker and a first-round pick as part of the deal. Can Brad Stevens guarantee the future of the Boston dynasty? With Boston, Horford regained his form and became a significant part of Boston's success. This season, with the addition of Porzingis, Horford has mostly come off the bench to provide both offensive and defensive sparks. At 37 years old, Horford has seen his minutes decrease, averaging a career-low 27.2 per game. Despite fewer minutes, his production is still there, and he fills a key role for the Celtics, who own the best record in the NBA at 59-16. This season, Horford is averaging 8.6 points and 6.5 rebounds off the bench. He's shooting 50.6% from the floor and 42.1% from three-point range, 102-42. They don't play him back-to-back, Ryan said. They nurse him, but he's contributed mightily. Are the 2024 Celtics truly different? Tatum's revelation. Throughout the entire season, the Celtics have been promoting the slogan "It's different here." From commercials to graphics and hashtags, the message has been omnipresent, and it was even part of Jason Tatum's spiel about this season's group after Monday's win in Charlotte. When asked about how he and his teammates are gearing up for the playoffs, he details how the 2024 CS aren't skipping steps. "I think last year we were so antsy just to get back to the finals that we had a few bad losses in the last few weeks of the season," Tatum told reporters. "We went to 6 games in that first round. We may have taken some things for granted. This year, we've done a really good job of not skipping steps and respecting every game, every day, and just trying to get better." This perspective from JT shouldn't come as much of a surprise. Head coach Joe Mazzulla has spoken countless times this year about how daily improvement is the thing he's been emphasizing to his guys the most, and it feels like we've seen that in the way the group plays. This Celtics team works differently than one from a year ago. They actually look in the mirror and work on their weaknesses. Think about it. How many times have we heard players talking about the need to be better, only to go out and make the same mistakes? Not many. Sure, the 2 losses in Atlanta last week were bad, but it's incredibly rare to see the Celtics play poorly in multiple games like that. In fact, poor play usually doesn't last longer than a quarter or 2. Boston has done a tremendous job of making adjustments when things don't go well. Can Celtics learn from past mistakes for playoff success? Last season, players would take the podium and feign accountability time after time, yet they continued to lose in head-scratching fashion. My favorite example was in March of 2023 when the CS were in a tight race for home court advantage with the Milwaukee Bucks. They had a serious chance to make up some ground in a March 28th matchup against the 34-42 Washington Wizards. 2 days prior, Malcolm Brogdon had told the media that Boston wanted the top spot and understood the importance of home court advantage in the playoffs. You'll never guess what happened next. Kristaps Porzingis and the boys blew the doors off the Celtics, and their chase for the number 1 seed was over. But the Celtics caught a break. The Bucks wound up losing in the first round at the hands of the Miami Heat, leaving the CS with the highest remaining seed. It turns out that home court meant absolutely nothing to the 2023 Celtics. They won just 5 of their 11 matchups at TD Garden. Their record past the first round was even worse, winning just 3 of their final 8 in Boston. Not only did the Celtics not do what they said they'd do, but they proved that even if they had grabbed the top seed, it wouldn't have even mattered. Is Mazzulla's experimentation the key to Celtics' championship run? They skipped the step where they were supposed to iron out the kinks. This season's team has the ironing board fired up and ready to go. Mazzulla has said time and time again that he had planned on using this final stretch of the season to experiment before the playoffs. He's done just that, regardless if it's been pretty to win in New Orleans or not. Cough, Atlanta. Don't forget to leave your like to show your support for the team and, of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any electrifying moment of the NBA season.